My name's Ralph, and welcome to Ralph's Sort of True Stories. This first story is about my father, who was 90 years old at the time, and I decided that I needed to research assisted living or senior living, or in my old days we called them nursing homes, but they've gotten a lot fancier. And I didn't really want to just walk in the front door and have some highly trained professional give me a tour of the place and convince me how wonderful it was. I wanted to see what it was really like. So I figured there had to be a side door where the old guys snuck out to take a smoke. And indeed, I found it. And there was a little bench outside that side door. But to get in the side door, you needed one of those cards that would open the door. So I just sat down on the bench and nodded to the two old guys that were sitting there. And one of them started telling the other one, he says, the other day I was down at the park. And I was just sitting there, and along comes this frog, hops up in front of me, and the frog says, "Pardon me, sir, I am a beautiful princess who was turned into a frog by an evil witch. And if you will just kiss me, I will turn back into a beautiful princess and grant you your wildest sexual fantasies." And the other guy said, "Well, what'd you do?" He says, "Well, I bent down and I picked up that frog." He said, "And you kissed it and got your wildest fantasies?" He said, "Oh, no. He says, "I just stuck it in my pocket." He said, "Well, why'd you do that?" He said, "Well, at my age, I'd just rather have a talking frog." Now, I told you these were sort of true stories, and frankly, I don't even believe that part. But from here on out, you can kind of trust me, this is going to be true. So the old guy got up and he goes in, and I sneak in the door behind him, and I kind of walk around and get the lay of the land. And there's these two long hallways. And out in the front is where the reception area is and the offices. And toward the back, in between the two big hallways, there's a big recreation room. So I kind of wandered in there and started looking around. And on one end, there's a great big TV, big size TV with a couch and a couple of chairs kind of going around the couch. And there were some of these folks in there watching TV. And there was another table over in the corner where there were 5 guys sitting there playing poker, and there were a couple other tables with men and women sitting there. And there was one old guy reading a book, but he'd kind of nodded off. Then there was another single chair over with a guy just looking out this side window. So as I'm just kind of checking out the scenery, rushing by me is this woman, flips up her dress, she's got no underwear on, and she says, "Super sex." She runs around in front of all these guys and says, "Super sex." And frankly, I got a glance before I could turn my eyes away, and I kind of wish I could erase that memory. But anyway, she goes up in front of the guy with the book that's kind of nodding off, and she throws up her dress and she says, "Super sex." He kind of nods and he says, "I think I'll take the soup." And in that case, I think that was probably a wise choice. I'm not so sure about the guy with the frog, that didn't take his wildest sexual fantasies, but this was a good decision. And then in the corner where the little old ladies were sitting around the one table, one of them gets up and goes over next to the guy that's looking out the window. And she pulls a chair up and sits down next to him. And she says, "Hi, my name's Rachel. What's your name?" And he kind of grunts. He says, "Frank." He says, "Oh, Frank. So where are you from?" He said, "Kansas." "Oh, really? Where in Kansas are you from?" He said, "Fort Leavenworth." "Really? Were you in the Army?" "No." "What were you doing in Fort Leavenworth?" "I was in prison." "You were in prison? What were you in prison for?" "Murder." "Oh, murder. Who did you murder?" He said, "I murdered my wife." She says, "So you're single?" I was thinking, I think my dad might do all right in this place. These women, are definitely interested. Then I heard one of the guys from the poker table. He says, I got to get up and go to the bathroom. I guess I'll just call it going to shake hands with the unemployed. I thought, well, that's a pretty good quip. And the other guy's sitting there and he's eating unpopped popcorn. I'm thinking, why is he eating unpopped popcorn? And one of the other guys helps me out, and he says, "Earl, why are you eating unpopped popcorn?" He said, "Because I'm going to die pretty soon, and I'm going to be cremated, and I want to put on a hell of a show when I go." So I thought that was pretty good forward thinking on his part. So that's some of what was going on in the activity room. At that point, I needed to take a break and get a cup of coffee. So hopefully you can do the same and come back and join me at Ralph's Sorta True Stories, and I'll let you know what else happened in the activity room and then in the sunroom. It's pretty interesting.